The Neighbor Part 2. He knocked. A true horror story, ShadowNarrated. I posted my story about Brian 3 weeks ago. I want to start by saying I read every single comment. Every person who said they believed me. Every person who said I was overreacting. Every person who said to move out immediately. I heard all of it. I'm still here. Not because I'm not scared, because breaking a lease costs 4 months' rent and I don't have that. So I'm still on the 3rd floor, corner unit, directly across the hall from Unit 304. Here's what's happened since I posted. The first week after I posted was quiet. Too quiet. Brian didn't appear in the hallway once. No elevator encounters, no mailbox run-ins. 8 months of him being everywhere I turned, and suddenly nothing. Like he knew I was watching for him. I told myself that was a good thing. Maybe he'd gotten the message. Maybe the energy had shifted, and he was backing off. I almost believed it. Then came day 9. Day 9 was a Tuesday. I was working from home when I heard a knock at my door. Not the building entrance, not the elevator, my apartment door. 3 knocks, slow and patient. Like whoever was on the other side had all the time in the world. I looked through the peephole. Brian, standing perfectly still in the center of the hallway, holding a small plate covered in foil, hands at his sides, except for the plate. That same easy, unbothered expression, the one that has never once changed regardless of what he's saying, happy or serious, morning or night, always the same face. I stood at the peephole without moving. He knocked again. Same rhythm, same patience. I opened the door on the chain. He smiled, said he'd made too much lasagna, old family recipe. Thought I might want some. I said I'd already eaten. He nodded, said no problem, said maybe another time. Then he looked at me just a half-second longer than a normal person looks at someone they're casually talking to. He said, "You look tired. Not sleeping well?" I said I was fine. He said, "I hear you up at night sometimes, walking around. Must be hard to sleep in a new place." I have lived here for 8 months. I smiled and shut the door. I stood in my hallway with my back against the door and listened to his footsteps go back across the hall. I waited for the sound of his door. It didn't come. I looked through the peephole. He was still standing in the hallway, facing my door, plate in hand, standing there for 40 seconds before he finally went back inside. There are 2 things wrong with what he said. The first is that I have not been up at night walking around. I've been taking sleep medication since I posted the first story. I go to bed at 10, and I don't move until 7. My downstairs neighbor confirmed she hasn't heard anything from my unit in weeks. The second is worse. My bedroom is at the back of the apartment, the furthest point from Brian's unit. The walls between us are thick. I've never once heard him through them. There is no structural reason he should be able to hear movement in my bedroom from Unit 304. Unless he isn't hearing it from Unit 304. I called my building manager the next morning. I asked about shared wall cavities, crawl spaces, anything structural between units that might carry sound in an unusual way. She said she'd check with maintenance. Frank came 2 days later. Quiet guy. Been with the building for years. He checked the walls, the floors, the ceiling. He found nothing. But when he reached the doorway on his way out, he stopped. He turned around slowly, like he was deciding something. He said, "Your neighbor, Brian, in 304. I said yes, he said. "He was in this unit last year, before you moved in." I asked what he meant. He said Brian had filed 3 separate maintenance complaints. Reported a smell coming through the wall from this unit. The building sent Frank in to investigate. The unit had been empty for 3 months. There was no smell, no source. No reason for anyone to be in there. Brian had filed 3 complaints anyway. 3 separate requests to access an empty apartment. Frank looked at me for a moment. Then he said, "The 3rd time I came in, I found the closet in the back bedroom had been disturbed. Like someone had been in it. I figured it was kids or something." He shrugged and left. I stood in my kitchen for a long time. Then I walked slowly to my back bedroom. I opened the closet. Everything looked normal. My clothes, my boxes, my spare blankets on the top shelf. I stood there for a full minute just looking. Then I noticed something I had never noticed before. On the inside of the closet door frame, low down, near the floor, in a spot you'd only see if you were sitting or crouching inside, there were small scratches in the paint. Deliberate ones. Like marks being made over time. Like someone keeping track of something. I went back through everything after that. 8 months ago, Brian was at my door within 20 minutes of me arriving to help carry boxes. Before I had told anyone in the building I was moving in, he knew my grocery store the first time I visited it. He knew I work from home Fridays. He knew I have a sister. He knew I was moving around at night when I wasn't. And a year ago, before I existed in this building at all, he was finding ways to get inside this specific unit. Not any unit, this one. I thought about the woman in the dark coat again that night. The one I used to see coming and going from his apartment, once a month, always tired. Always that flat expression in the elevator like she was somewhere else entirely. I haven't seen her in 2 months. I went back through the notes on my phone, a documentation habit I started months ago, February 14th. Last entry about her. Looked worse than last time. Didn't make eye contact. Didn't look at anyone. Then nothing. I did something I should have done sooner. I described her to my building manager. Asked if she knew who she was. Long pause on the phone. She said that description sounded like it could be a woman who had lived in the building about a year ago. Different unit, second floor. She said the woman had broken her lease suddenly. Left most of her furniture. Forwarding address turned out to be invalid. I asked which unit. She told me. I looked it up on the building directory out of habit. The unit had been released 8 months ago. To me, I'm writing this at midnight. 20 minutes ago, I heard something in the hallway. I looked through the peephole. Brian was standing outside his door. Not coming or going, just standing completely still in the center of the hallway facing my door. He stood there for 4 minutes. I counted. Then he turned and went back inside. I kept watching his peephole. It went dark. He watched me watch him leave. I have a call with a tenant rights lawyer tomorrow morning. I've sent everything, my notes, the dates, Frank's name, the building manager's statements to 2 people I trust. I've also started sleeping somewhere else. I won't say where, but I want Brian to read this. I want him to know that I know about the complaints, about the closet, about the woman who used to live in my apartment before me. I want him to know that I've stopped being afraid of what he knows about me, and I've started being afraid of what happened to her. The lasagna is still outside my door. I haven't been back to touch it, but someone has. There's a second plate now.